short today. All right, I'm gonna cut it, but let's get our little tune up, our little tune up, and get us going from Donnie. But today you only need to get one, maybe 2 minutes of our Donnie McClarkin and our Caribbean medley, right? Because it's time for the village. I'm not here.
One more thing. But I love you. You know, when we travel,
John, you hearing it?
press my soul so we cannot change. Oh, yes, they do. Also, you gotta become strong. But that only makes me more determined. So when we travel around the world, we gotta reach out. And we gotta sing in accordance to their culture. You don't understand.
Can you hear it now, John? All right, you got to turn your bell. I'm saying, can you hear the song? Can you hear the song?
When we go to Russia or the Ukraine,
all right, good
we got to sing in Russian.
All right, let's go, ladies and gentlemen.
So you don't sing, our God is the awesome God, He reigns.
Oh, that's not the song I want
to sing. From heaven above with the wind.
Yes.
Some power and... Now sing it in Russian. Now see, I just said, sing it in Russian. You gotta be able to be all things.
Why isn't that? Oh, I'm not getting my song. You know what? We're gonna skip it today, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm a little bit late, and because we're late, I'm trying to rush, and I'm not getting it. I'm not getting it the way I want to get it for you out there. So I guess I'm gonna have to do better next week. Again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the village. My name is Roderick Rudy Daly. It's a pleasure to have you joining us this week. Today, our guest host is John Sampson, Big Dog. John Sampson is joining us, and he says, I always want to try the radio, so I'm trying a new little thing. But look at his face; it's all like all smiles. Okay. So just to have you out there, just to remind you, you're right here live on the village, where we're dedicated to empowering the community to live a healthy, safe, and financially capable life through education, helping each one of us in realizing our dreams at any age, at any point, starting from today. So success is not spoken, it is done. What are you doing to be successful? So, ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you. John just said they can't hear you, so you might have to pull up your mic a little bit more so they can hear you out there. Right? Yeah. I can hear you. Paul, can you hear him? I hear feedback. I hear echo from my end. So, ladies and gentlemen, real quick, everybody should know Senator John Sampson, good friend of mine for years. I don't even know, what, 20 years, close to 20 years, right?
Long time, Rudy,
long time. And, so I was glad to have him to co-host with us. I'm trying to like reel him in, so I get him more than just today. So we'll see what's going on with that. John, welcome to the village.
Rudy, thanks a lot, man. Feels good to be back.
Yes.
Just be back and just support someone like you. My days in politics are pretty much over, and it's good to be a part of the village, and as you're saying, empowering the community. In
Abs-
life, you go through trials and tribulations, but God doesn't knock you down. He may knock you down for a moment, but he picks you right back up.
I agree with that. I was listening to something from Denzel Washington, like it's going around, and he was talking about ease, right? And he says, and this is on what you're talking about, where he says you could fall down 7 times, but are you going to get up 8? And that's what it's about. So God knocks you down just like you say, and then sometimes you got to have the drive to push up. So you want to? What's going on with you? What's new with you?
Well, I mean, it's great to be back home, be in the community, and right now, just faith and family right now. Just
Gotcha.
working for a great company, Exodus, doing some great things, and who knows what the future may hold. But one thing I know that I'm going to do is definitely give back to a lot of people who have struggled, who are
Right.
in the struggle, who been wrongfully convicted, lack of representation. This whole social justice movement is really real, and having
Gotcha.
experienced it on all ends, it really enlightens you, and gives you the wisdom to really effectuate the change that needs to be made.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And it also gives us, especially from your situation, give you a different perspective on life, right? And and how to view things, and how change really needs to happen. You know, a lot of things.
Experience, they say, is the best teacher, man.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Experience truly is the best teacher.
Right. Anita says hello, Senator Sam. Anita Taylor says hello.
Tell Anita say hello.
Yeah, she can hear you.
Anita, hello.
I was thinking I had a. Oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to make sure that I thank everyone who attended the Zoom party. I know some of you missed it. I know. Um, and it was a great, right. It was a great party. I want to thank the mayor for dropping in. I want to talk, Senator Kevin Parker, my family, my wife, my brother. Oh, kudos to my brother out there. Jermaine, he hooked us up nicely. He was in Jamaica. He was enjoying himself on his own, dear John. See him and his friends in the background partying, having a good time. They were, and it was very well attended. Well, nice to put together. Lanique, Keisha, all the DJs. While they had it going. Just want to thank God for living another year.
Amen. That's the
You know,
most important thing, Rudy.
you know,
Thank God, man.
you know, I, I
It's a testament of
yes,
who you are and what you have been doing for people to just come and give you those accolades.
you know. Oh, Jay Dubs is mad because she said she won. We were playing a couple of games at the party. What was it? It was it. Name that tune, J Dubs. How you got teeth? Who teach you? Right. I don't know how you got. But you said somebody robbed you. Oh, Azizi robbed you. Azizi robbed you. Oh, okay. I hear you. But I was just reading the chat, John. I was just going through the chat, reading it, and say, "Oh, this person won, that person won." So she's yelling at me. All right, well, talk to Lanique. Don't blame me. What's going on in politics? Let's see. Today, the Congress has voted to censor Marjorie Taylor Greene. But what does that really mean, though? I mean, no, the took her
I
off.
mean, to me, that they're going to take away her committee assignments, and sometimes it's like you're making her a martyr,
Yeah,
and her ideology. I think and she has, the Republican Party has really lost their soul.
Yeah.
And I respect what Liz Cheney did. She's in leadership, and usually in leadership, you set the example.
Hmm.
And for her to vote for impeachment against the Republican president, it was based upon her convictions. In life, you
Good.
have your preferences or your convictions. A lot of people, especially when you talk about politics, to a lot of people, it's preferential. Whatever is the color of the day or the flavor of the day. But you have some people who stick to their convictions about certain things, irrespective of party affiliations. And I respect Congresswoman Cheney for sticking to her convictions with respect to that insurrection that happened on January 6th and the responsible parties.
Yeah.
So as to Ms. Green, she's going to do what she's going to do. The bottom line is you just have to take her out in the next 2 years. You
You know,
know,
one of the things that the thing that upsets me a lot though is, and rightfully so, when you do something wrong, a couple of senators and I think one congressman a few years ago did something wrong. And not only were they censored or censured, but they were asked to resign. And the morality of the Republican Party, I think it's supposed to be the party of conscience, of godliness. Yeah,
that's it. Words only. It's
yeah,
about
yeah,
with the Republican with the Republicans. It's all about power.
it's all
It's
about
all
power.
about being in a position of power to make those decisions, irrespective of your moral values or your convictions.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know,
I was thinking about, like, for example, John, like they're down on, oh, you can't go the reconciliation way, you can't do this, you can't do that, you need try to be bipartisan. They voted straight down Republican Party line for everything that hit the Senate, hitting the first impeachment. I'm not saying whether or not Trump deserved to be impeached on the first impeachment. This one, my personal opinion on this one, yes. On the first one, I don't know, but at least give the opportunity for the people to hear why they're doing it. You understand what I'm saying? And
yeah,
that didn't even happen. They stopped the judge from chiming from that President Obama at the time wanted to put it. Oh, let's wait for the next election,
right.
right? And you're right, Eddie, when you're right. It's the party of hypocrites. Absolutely is a
But they
party.
under, but they understand. They understand power, and they understand by being in the position of the majority, they can effectuate change, and they can effectuate their ideology. They
Right.
don't stand up on principle at all. It's about just being in the position of power to effectuate what they believe to be issues. Believe that they feel it's right for the community, but it's not really right for the majority of the communities. It's correct for their base. So but Democrats have to understand too. You know, a very important point. Sometimes when you have time, and which I had time on my hands, and I watched a lot of things, especially that young woman in Baltimore who ran as a Republican, a black woman, a young sister ran as a Republican,
Right.
and she did an ad, which was to me very powerful. She the advertisement dealt with how Baltimore looks for the last 50 years that have been under Democratic control,
Right.
and Baltimore, the capital, murder capital. The Wire and all these other shows based upon that. And you know, Democrats were in control when all this happened. And you hear a lot of people, especially in the Black Lives Movement, and now people are saying, just because you are a Democrat does not mean that we're not going to challenge you. For many years, we just blindly just supported Democrats because they were Democrats, because we party affiliation. But the time has come where change has to be effectuated. uh
Absolutely.
People need to to see things happen in their communities. So it's a great thing to have great ideologies, but at the end of the day, what are you producing for the people? And if you think about it, and if you look at the urban communities in those areas in which there are issues and crime and things, basically a lot of them are governed by democratic leadership.
That's true.
You know, so that's something that we have to face, and that's why a lot of
Not only
the
just face, but we also have to
the
fix.
consciousness of the village has really risen, and I think what George, what happened with respect to Mr. Floyd has really raised the consciousness of all people, but particularly young people. And now young people are asking the question, what are you doing? You
That's
know, just because you're a Democrat does not mean I'm going to vote for you. I'm a Democrat, but what are you doing? So, you know, the people are, I think the generation now, people are looking for results.
and
People are looking for results.
and that's important. Sometimes I look at certain communities, like you're talking about, like Brooklyn and the schools, and a lot of people run an educational platform, especially. Just a couple of shout outs to you, John. Tanisha says hello from
All
Quincy
right.
Elton. And Pierre says what's up. Um, Want to continue the topic a little bit, but you know we have a couple of things and a couple of guests that are coming on. But one of the things is a lot of Democrats run on the platform of education, especially for the inner city youth, the metropolises, and yet still the educational piece is not changing. But yet still, the next person comes and said they're going to look at education. I mean, I had a some conversation with a few elected officials and what their the goals are, but it's like you said, more of the same. And so sometimes you do need to, like you said, with the young people, light a fire. But to move on to a different topic, this month is Black History Month, and ladies and gentlemen, I just want to make sure that I highlight. Uh, let's see, Lewis Howard Latimer, and a most invaluable inventor, one of the most invaluable inventor of our time. One of the most innovative. Let me just pull up. Okay, so he.
Can't hear you, Rudy. You gotta raise your voice. Can't
I
hear
gotta
you.
raise my voice a little bit. So Lewis Howard Latimer, was born September 4th, 1848, and he died December 11th, 1928. So what's that? 52 plus 28. What's that? 80 years. It was 80. It's considered one of the most important Black inventors for the number of inventions he produced and patterned. Uh, he safeguarded, right? So one most known for his best known discovery, which is a long-lasting filament for the electric light bulb. In other words, his invention is what makes the light bulbs we use last as long as we need. Latimer was in great demand for his expertise, skill, late in his career as electric light spread across the country. Indeed, without Latimer's help and expertise, Thomas Edison may not have received even received his patent for the light bulb. So even though Thomas Edison was given credit for I guess the father of electricity, without Mr. Latimer, there would be no light bulb. And I think that has happened a lot in our history, John, where we are the pillar behind a lot of inventions, but they don't give as much credit.
We don't get the credit. Basically, we're the foundation for a lot of inventions, and we don't get the credit because we are the catalyst for these inventions that have really globalized the world. Can't hear you, Rudy.
Oh, yeah, you go. All right. Figure out why I turned on the mic. I'm an idiot. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to call into the village, our phone number here is 718-841-99.
Turn up the volume a little bit more, Rudy. I can't hear you too hard.
You still can't hear me? Can you hear me now?
Can't hear you. A little bit more.
All right. So let's see if I could do something
You
about
got a
that.
soft voice, man. Come on, man. This is not
So
the quiet storm.
no, it's not right. WBLS, right? So 718-841-9980. You could catch us right here on YouTube, which is, I would love for a lot of, please remember, people, share our YouTube when you get out there. We need to increase the viewership and a lot of information that we're offering. We love to see it and other people to see it. Um, so YouTube at the Village Talk Show, on Facebook at Roderick F. Daily, um, Roderick F. Daily, or Tawana St. Paul. We're gonna make sure that John's get connected, so you can also watch it on John Sampson page as well. And we're on TuneIn Radio at 92.1 GD Radio, on www.gdradio.org. We have so many outlets that you can listen to where we are, and making sure that you'll have access to us and be able to get that information out to the populace. COVID, John, thoughts? And the vaccine.
Well, I mean, you hear so many. You said that's like you hear so many conspiracy theories about the vaccine, and one, I think we should take the vaccine. Definitely, we need to be knowledgeable of it, the repercussions, basically the feedback on those who have taken this vaccine. I think a lot has to do with the speed in which the vaccine was put together, because usually vaccines take years. But this, the COVID, we because of it's so highly contagious, something had to be done quickly. And I give President Trump credit with respect to that, with his warp speed with respect to this vaccine. So I think we just have to continue to learn more about it. But I think those who have an opportunity to take it should take it.
While I'm on the subject of the vaccine, Kingsbrook, ladies and gentlemen, if you're in New York City, is having a free vaccine all day. Kingsbrook is on Winthrop and what's that? Winthrop and Schenectady over there in Brooklyn. You don't need an appointment to go to get your vaccine, so it's free.
Well, Rudy, it's interesting when you look at the lines. And I've been watching some of these lines on TV, and then some of my friends have been telling me, the majority of the people who are taking these vaccines are not minorities.
No.
And this COVID-19 has really impacted us a great deal. So I think a lot of times it's all about educating people about this vaccine and the impact it can have. Everyone has seen what COVID has done, and is continually doing. It's amazing. You see the death tolls every day keeps climbing. It's like a nightmare.
A friend of mine who's a teacher, I think he just recently retired, sent me some stats. I'm actually going to read the stats now. I'm going to read it. I didn't do the background.
Make sure it's not fake news now, man.
Yeah, right. You understand? Do you understand what I'm saying? Right. So I'm gonna read it to you, and our producer Andre made sure that he put it out there. Right, he put it out there so that you will see what's going on. John, I just sent you an email. Check the email.
Okay.
All right. At the end of the day, hold on. So let me go back on the CDC. Where are we? Okay, so let me just read this for you. And it talks about the fear that has um consumed a lot of blacks, right? Um, so at the end of the day, we have the percent. So cases, what is this? Let me see if I can. American Indian or Native American Indian, Alaska Native, non-Hispanic persons. It's I'm not sure how, but the numbers reflect the population, right? So the numbers reflect the population, right? Right. So the numbers reflect our population. So you get it, right? You see it at so let me go back. I'll read you the exact numbers. So let's just go back and I'll read you exactly what the conversation is about, right? And you might agree or disagree with it, but that's up to you. But let me read you the numbers, right? So I'm gonna read you exactly the email that was forwarded. So distribution of COVID deaths in the United States, right? Distribution of COVID deaths in the United States are as follows, right? You have 60%, 60.7% of whites have died from COVID. Hispanic is 18%, blacks at 15.6%, Asians at 3.6%, American Indians at 1.1%, and others at 0.7. Now, a lot of us sometimes argue these numbers, and one of the things that we're talking about is that um, I know a lot more black people who have died from COVID, right?
Right.
Now, if you're white, you're going to know a lot more white people who have died from COVID. And no matter what ethnic background you are, that's where you're going to find, right? You're going to find that generation of people. But when you really look at the numbers, people are dying based upon their makeup here in the United States. You get what I'm saying?
No,
So
when you saying that dying proportionate to the population,
yes,
that's what you're saying?
yeah, it's proportionate to the population. So sometimes we are our own people are sometimes their own enemies, right? Um, because if you're dying in proportion to your to the demographics of the United States, roughly, the reality of the situation is it's dangerous right across the board.
Well, I mean, you know what, but it comes to the point meaning that healthcare, the importance of healthcare and the lack of it in our communities. That's what that's what it really boils down to.
Right, right. I mean, yes, but you know, John, and you know this because you're in politics for a long time, right? One of the things, that I found out, I when I was with the union and we traveled and doing like political watch landscape. There are a significant number of individual non-blacks, non-Hispanics who are struggling with healthcare. I mean, I met one guy back in I want to say about 2004, right? And when I met this guy, and I asked him to vote at that time I was supporting John Kerry, so this I guess it's 2004. He had no teeth in his mouth, none whatsoever. And I'm like, John Kerry supports healthcare. He says, I don't care, right? I'm anti-abortion. And I don't have health care, but I'm going to vote Republican. So that it's like you're voting against your own. I mean, it's a dude. You can't have. I mean, I'm not saying for you to. You have your principles, right? I'm not telling you people what to believe in and what not to believe. But a lot of times, so the going back to our conversations, the healthcare is not just a black issue; it's also a poverty issue.
No, it is a poverty issue. It's a demographic issue.
Right.
Um, and it's the lack of it
Absolutely.
in our communities. Lack of it even in rural communities, in urban communities. And the point is the access. It's not only the access of healthcare; it's the quality of the healthcare that is administered to you,
True.
and that's the point. You can have all the access to healthcare, but if the quality is not there, you're still going to suffer from the chronic diseases that impact our communities, and it's a whole host of things. It goes from your diet, the food you eat, the education. So it's you have to look at it, and you can't look at it in one small clip. This is a evolution that has happened for generations regarding the quality of healthcare that is administered. And of course, those who can afford it will receive not only access, but greater quality of care.
Yes. Yes.
Our thing is, access is one thing, but I want quality. I want the same quality of healthcare that is being administered on Mount Sinai in Manhattan, same quality of healthcare administered at same one at Brookdale Hospital, Kings County.
That you don't even have to go so far, John. The same quality of healthcare at Mount Sinai, Manhattan, as the one Mount Sinai in Brooklyn. And it's the same hospital. It's it's not the same care. It's funny because, and I unfortunately for me, I've had the dubious thing. My words are slipping in now. Where I was at the Mount Sinai in Manhattan for a 4-night stay, and I was at the Mount Sinai in Brooklyn for a 30-day stay, and the difference of the two hospitals were ridiculously different. And it's the same company, right? It's the same hospital network of hospitals, right? It's the same network of hospitals, and you're not getting the same care. And so you're right. So we don't even have to go as far as Brookdale, or anything else. Just a couple of shout outs to you, John, while I'm here. A couple of comments that you if you want to address or not. Rickford Burke is sending his blessings out to you. Lydia says, "Hey, how is Jordana?
She's doing well.
Doing well.
Going to college. She's going to Swarthmore College to play basketball.
Are you serious? I went to Haverford, right next to our guest tonight is from Haverford. She's going to Swarthmore. Yeah. Are you serious? Yeah. Wow.
Going to Swarthmore to play basketball.
Media PA. So where was I? A couple of other people. Eddie said, I feel sorry, going back to the conversation about the senators. I feel sorry I feel sorry for seniors who are not adept at computer functions because it's almost impossible to get an appointment. We're going about getting appointments for the vaccine.
Well, I think with that's an issue, Roger. But I think a lot, I think the elected officials in the community will be very helpful with that. So I think they should reach out to their elected officials in the community to help them to go to their offices. I think they will definitely help our seniors out with that. Not even our seniors, with our popular, with those in the community. So, you may not have the computer capacity, but at the same time, pick up the phone, call your representative, and I know they'll make it happen for them.
Yeah, and one of the things is certain that I know factually seniors vote, and they're very consistent about voting. So at the end of the day, just reach out. Let me see if I could get you the address for Kingsbrook. Let me do that before I forget. Let me get that up on the screen. So Kingsbrook address is, and I'm going to read you the flyer that I got that everybody's can be a part of. So it's from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. and it ends tomorrow. and walk-ins are welcome. So it's Schenectady Avenue between Winthrop Street and Rutland Road, uh, in the Minkin Ballroom, in the Minkin Ballroom. And let me see if this. So basically, if you're 65 or older, you have your frontline worker, essential worker, you have underlying conditions, and obviously you're gonna have to bring some kind of medical record for that to bring it out there. You can.
We all got underlying conditions, man.
Yeah. um, yeah, I agree with that, Jay. So hopefully we can talk to Jamani, our public advocate, to get something, a mobile unit, to get it out there.
That would be good. That would be good. That would be a nice. A mobile unit would be very nice to administer those vaccinations.
Yeah, it's an excellent suggestion to get that out there. 718-841-9980. You are listening to The Village right here with Roderick Rudy Daly and our illustrious John Sampson. Just Lydia also is saying that the VA is offering vaccine to all veterans 65 and older. To all veterans, they need to call 836-6600 and get an appointment. So VA.
I know Christian Cultural Center in East New York was also offering the vaccine there.
Yeah, I think I literally just got the text message about that. And Brookdale was offering it a couple of weeks ago. Next topic, interesting conversation. I mean, we could come back to it a little bit. We want to go to education for a little bit, ladies and gentlemen. Please note, one of the big cries is that parents need to fill out their parent surveys, so it's due. Please, I always beseech our teachers, our parents, and our community and our students, right? So the stakeholders to fill out these surveys, because these surveys kind of help to drive what's happening within our schools. And we can't continuously talk about how bad our schools are if you're a complainer. Right? That's exactly what that is. You're a complainer and you're not willing to do something. You're a complainer and a blamer, both. Because you're not giving any solution, but you're knocking down solutions and you're not doing what is necessary to help. A lot of things are happening. A number of schools are closing down on a daily basis because of COVID, or there's not enough time for students to get into the schools to learn. But right now, this is a survey conversation, right? Fill out the surveys about what's happening. What's your thought on remote learning?
You know what? I like hands-on. I like to be in the classroom. You know, my daughters have that remote learning, and it's okay, but it's nothing more beautiful than just being in a classroom, interacting with the teacher or the professor, interacting with your classmates. It's like life, you know. I mean, you know, it's similar to, you know, people have homeschooling. So to me, my position is I would prefer that our students are in the classrooms. However, it has to be a safe environment for the teachers and for everyone. And it is that's not monolithic. It can happen.
Yeah.
And I believe that you know, the rate of infection in the schools is very minuscule. Just like with restaurants, you know, having these businesses, you know, the hospitality industry completely shut down here, not only in New York but in other states. It's a tremendous impact economically, but at the same time, it's always, you know, your health is your wealth.
Absolutely.
But they both can coexist. You know what I'm saying? As long as it's done correctly. And I think the way the governor and, you know, he has pushed forth these proposals and from you know, President Biden, you know, the mask and everything else. Let's adhere to those protocols. And those numbers will continue, will go down, give us an opportunity to life will never be normal again. but to give some semblance of normalcy.
No, we had a call. I forgot to tell you that we had a caller. Caller, you can call back. We'll answer it now. Again, welcome to the Village at 92.1 GD Radio right here. We're pleased to have you join us this evening as we have some, normal discussion. Waiting on our first guest to come in. And like I said, I have a Fordian, and he's offering private tutoring. So as we talk about the subject on school, just to let people know that some deadlines, even though John, that it's remote learning, there's still deadlines that have to be met. So you're talking about, for a lot of our listeners, we're talking about the middle school application, the high school application, college apps. In addressing certain conversations about parents, and I got to remind you, because I'm an educator, and not only that, but I did college recruiting, and I also did some of the high school recruiting as well. Your child cannot just write a superficial essay to go to an elite school. It's just not going to happen. And it's also scholarship times, right? So as parents, you have to look at the scholarships that are available. But most times, if you dig deep, John, and
Right.
that person live your story, it makes your application stand out. So you have to, and a lot of times, ladies and gentlemen, one of the tricks is tweaking. Because you can write the same essay for 15 colleges, but you might tweak a paragraph here and a paragraph there, even for the scholarship. So sometimes you're doing yourself a disservice in not writing that essay, not taking that moment. A couple of years ago, somebody called me up, and because they were looking for somebody for a scholarship. I don't remember what the scholarship was at this point. It's been years. And the person said, Mr. Daly, the person just have to write 3 lines. They know what it was, but still up and ready to write that essay. And there's help. I mean, I will even offer some help, right? That if you need it, but look at the schools. I think a couple of weeks ago, I spoke to everyone, John, about how to select the schools. You have your safety school, your mid-range school, and your hard to reach schools, right? And there are also things called fee waivers that parents don't utilize. And I always don't listen to the guidance counselor that says you can't afford to go to the school. Don't listen to the guidance counselor. That guidance counselor don't know what they're talking about. The fact of the matter is, you don't know if you can afford to go to the school until you get your financial aid package. That would make a determination about whether or not you can go. And you can always ask for more money.
But what's interesting now, because of what's going on with COVID and remote learning, there are a lot of parents now who are calling these institutions and saying, hey, we can't afford it. We can't afford to pay tuition. And we can't afford to pay the $50,000, $60,000 tuition. Some of these institutions are really negotiating with parents because they understand, so, don't be afraid to ask. And, when you are writing your essays, and take a moment and just think about how things have truly impacted you to do what you are seeking, to be educated. What's the purpose? Why do you want to be educated? What in your normal routine, your daily lives has impacted you? And sometimes you just got to think about it. There's things that you may overlook, instances and interaction, which basically can perpetuate your ideology and your outlook on the world.
It's absolutely certain. Hey, Brett, welcome to the Village. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to introducing in a couple of seconds. But I I'm glad you're here because I'm right at the topic where we're talking about schools and remote learning and applying to schools like Haverford. Because I see the big Haverford soccer. You're a soccer buff?
Yes.
What's your
yes.
favorite team outside of the Ford? Are you MLS? Are you European League?
Got to be European. I think European League. I want to support the MLS. I hope I hope the league grows here. But I'm a Tottenham Hotspurs supporter.
Yeah, whatever. I'm Forza Barca. No, not at all.
Historic club. I love Danny Alves. When Danny Alves was playing there, I loved him.
Oh, don't tell me anything about them. I have no idea. But I know I like Forza Barca.
That's right.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you and welcome to the Village. This is Roderick F. Dale, joined with you. Our host John Sampson is with us, and we have our first guest, Brett Mazarski. You could call
Come on, man. Stop butchering the name. Come on, Rudy. Don't butcher the
I'm sorry,
It's a tough name. It's a tough name for sure.
Right. And so you could call in. What he has to talk about is so very important, and it actually goes along the topic where John and I were just talking about. Before I introduce Brett, I just want to say John and I actually went to the same middle school. So we both went to Mar 11, right, John? Back in Mar 11, both graduated in the 80s. Brett and I, ladies and gentlemen, I was just going through the news. I was just reading my email. And this dude name just came up, was featured in the Philadelphia Inquirer. And, and he was, because he started a program. And with that, I'm going to allow Brett the opportunity to introduce himself. And then we start talking about, what the program is that he did.
All right. Well, hi, everybody. My name's Brett, and I'm a senior at Haverford College.
You got to pronounce that last name for me. Pronounce that, because John said I butchered. So
Mazarski. You got it. You got it.
I was right. All right.
So yeah, I'm a senior at Haverford College, just 25 minutes from Philadelphia, and I founded and run a free online tutoring organization for the children of frontline workers. Anyone from healthcare workers to educators to social workers to people in stores and grocery stores. We're here to be able to provide support to your children, academic support, and also social support in these times of sort of isolation and need. We've been operating since March. We've worked with about 165, 170 students from across the country, and we have about 100 undergraduate college students who tutor with us, most of whom are Haverford College students.
Quick question for you. Going back, what subjects do you guys tutor in?
Yeah, so we tutor across pretty much all subjects of the humanities, social sciences, natural sciences. So we do math, physics, English, Spanish, French, chemistry, biology, earth sciences. We even help with economics, and we also do standardized tests prep. So ACT, SAT, the SSAT. We've helped students plan and prepare for those sorts of tests as well. We can also help with time management skills, prioritizing certain homework assignments, organizational skills, even test prep skills in general. In all honesty, we're just here to be able to support anybody's academic needs no matter what.
So, Brett, how many students are involved with this to provide such a I think a fantastic service?
By the way, Brett, I just wanted to interrupt to say you don't want to talk to John. You know why you don't want to talk to John?
I don't know.
His daughter is going to our rival school.
Swarthmore?
You know.
I don't know.
She's going to play basketball.
Great school. I don't want
to compete against us,
All I'm saying is they can't seem to beat us in soccer, so I don't know. I don't know what it is. Really good basketball school though. I know they just had a terrific last season in basketball. But so we have about 100 undergraduate students, a few recent graduates of Haverford,
Great,
but also Bryn Mawr College students. The outpour of support from Bryn Mawr College has been tremendous as well. And we also have a handful of students from other schools. But it's been pretty much all on the main line at this point in Pennsylvania.
So, all right. So you have about, you said, I think in your intro, you said you have about 100 tutors or thereabouts, right?
Yes.
And tell me something what motivated you? What, that recognized that there is a great need for tutors to come out. But so tell me something that motivated you to say, you know what, I got to get something like this up and running. Was it because you're bored at home, or, what happened?
Yeah, I think honestly there were sort of three real motivating factors. I think the first one was just the initial isolation and sort of frustration that I had with online learning. Back in March, Haverford moved to all online learning, and I was pretty discouraged at that point. As a chemistry major, a lot of my work is in the lab and a lot of hands-on collaboration, and just not being able to interact with professors and get time there was definitely disappointing. But at the same time, I could only really imagine what it must have felt like to be, say, a middle school student or a high school student who couldn't go to class, couldn't interact with their professors, couldn't have access to a lot of the resources they normally would have, books, materials, even just conversations with people. A lot of my professors were incredibly accommodating. They, all of our texts and all of our homework was online, and we could access them, pretty much 24/7. But I just couldn't imagine what it must have felt like to be a student at that time. And at the same time, I was thinking a little bit about, you see on the news all the time, images and stories of healthcare workers, frontline workers making tremendous sacrifices, working extensive hours just so that we could be safe, so that we could, have some semblance of a normal life, even though, at the time we really were just sort of isolated. So I couldn't even imagine what it must have felt like to be a child of a frontline worker whose parents aren't necessarily even around to help out, with homework and with questions about tough, topics or subjects. That must have been really isolating. That was sort of the first motivating factor. I think.
Well, that's enough, boy. That's enough.
Yeah. No, I and it made me feel. It made me feel like that was something that needed to be done, that we needed to provide something to help children sort of deal with these tough times, primarily for schoolwork, but also just in other ways. And I think that also, the second motivation was really just trying to support the healthcare workers and the frontline workers, trying to give back to them for everything that they're doing. And I think the third motivational sort of factor is I had the opportunity to tutor at Haverford for a little while. And those experiences just made me really excited to be able to, work with younger students and help them with their work as well. It's something that I was passionate about, and I just wanted to see if I could use my skills to help other people.
Brett, my hat goes off to you and to those who are participating in this program, because what you're providing is to those frontline workers, those healthcare workers. You're giving them a sense of calmness, because they're worried about not being there for their children and giving them the necessary attention that's needed, especially when it comes to education and dealing with remote learning. And having to know that you got some caring young college individuals who want to give back, it gives them that sense of calm. So I just want to say thank you, because they really do appreciate it, and hopefully that can be replicated at other institutions as a way of just we all coming, out of this whole, out of a crisis situation. There is always opportunity, and the opportunity that I have seen is the way we have come together, coalesce around one another to help one another. You know, you always ask, one thing you always ask God, God, why? But there's always a teachable moment and wisdom in what he teaches us. And this is an opportunity for us to understand that the power or the power to deal with crisis is coming together collectively, digging down in our souls and believing that we are all our brothers and sisters keepers. So what you're doing is just basically the epitome of not only giving back, but giving faith to humankind.
Yeah, you know, it's so like sometimes, and I want to make sure that people understand that this is something that a young man who's a senior, right? And obviously last year as a junior, but this year he has to work on his thesis. And I mean, as a first-hand knowledge of a person going to Haverford, your thesis is no joke, right? Sometimes you have to be in isolation and hide, because you can't talk to you can't come up for a full breath of air. Especially with the major that you've chosen, chemistry. Are you planning on being a doctor? Is that why you chose chemistry? Or
I mean, in all honesty, I kind of fell in love with chemistry out of nowhere. I just love it. But I'm thinking maybe becoming a doctor, maybe, trying to use chemistry to help other people in different ways. I'm kind of undecided, but right now that's sort of the plan, I guess.
All right. I mean, that's fair enough. I mean, because I just wanted our audience to know, like, and a couple of our audience members did mention kudos to you for what it is that you're doing, and echo what John is saying as well. So all of these people are they in the Philadelphia area? If they want to be if they want to get tutored, where can they? I mean, so you're looking at people all around, right?
Yeah, all over.
Yeah, my mama says hi, by the way.
Hello.
My mama says hi. Yeah. So all over. So anybody can contact you anywhere in the United States.
Yes. That's the one good thing about social distancing right now is that we're sort of able to work on a platform that lets us work with people from wherever. It has its benefits and it has its downsides, certainly. But yeah, if you go to our website, free4frontlinetutors.com. There's a web form there.
Let me get up on the screen for everybody to see. Say it again.
Our website is free4frontlinetutors.com. There's a web form there where you can just fill out your information, your child's information, what class they want help with, and any additional comments that you want me to know. I get that email directly, and then from there I can work with you on setting your child or your children up with one of our tutors. We have plenty of tutors who are looking to volunteer their time and work with students, and I know they're tremendously excited and dedicated to be doing their job. So we're happy to help anybody, really. We know that this is a tough time, and we just want to be able to come together and help anybody.
What subject do you get the most requests for?
It seems to be a lot of math. People have a lot of trouble with math. Math is definitely popular. But we also, it's been good because we have a lot of people who are comfortable tutoring math. So we've been able to balance it out. English too, a little bit. I'd say English would be the second one. Math is a top choice.
I got I got a math question the other day. I love math, John. I love
math. I love math too. Yeah.
Yeah, but I love it from a distance, right? So I got a math question, and I felt young again, like with the numbers and stuff, and I had to think about it for a little bit. And it was 7th grade math, and so one of the things the reason why I'm bringing that point up, John, is that a lot of time parents get baffled and befuddled and like, oh, I don't know, and get embarrassed. I mean, it was a 7th grade math problem. I mean, I figured it out, but the point that it's okay to get help, right? So, are you just for frontline work? What if somebody's not a frontline worker and they really? I mean, I understand that that's the this start, right? That's was your motivator. But is it just frontline workers you guys work with?
Yeah, so obviously we're kind of geared towards frontline workers. That's what we advertise, I guess, for lack of a better word. That's how we kind of present ourselves.
Right.
But my plan, right, is I don't want this. Hopefully the pandemic will be over soon, and we'll be able to sort of work back to having in-person learning and all those sorts of things. But there's no reason why a resource like this should stop. I mean, there's plenty of students out there who will still, not have great access to certain academic resources. They're either, disadvantaged in some sort of way, or that they just, for other circumstances, won't have the same opportunities to be able to succeed on their academic journey. There's also parents out there, who on a regular basis, regardless of the pandemic, work extensive shifts, and they're just not there to help their children at home work through a lot of their schoolwork. And so that, on top of the fact that there's always going to be college students who want to volunteer their time and provide to their communities. There's no reason why something like this can't continue. So whether we work with people who aren't frontline workers right now, or whether that's something in the future, to me, it doesn't make a difference. If you need help on your academic journey, and you're looking for support, we're here to provide it. There shouldn't be any sort of distinguishing factor here. We just want to help people. We want to bring communities together, and we want people to succeed and feel better. So I think it can go beyond frontline workers for sure, without a doubt.
What do you do? Chemistry, obviously chemistry, but
yes. Yeah. Chemistry is definitely my favorite thing to tutor. I do biology, and I can also do math up to a certain level. Once we start getting into calculus, I get a little hesitant. I've sort of taken a backseat on tutoring recently, just because I'm the only person that sort of manages all the logistics and the planning for the program. So I've unfortunately haven't really been able to tutor recently. It's something I love to do, but I'm hoping that I can get back into it sooner rather than later.
Well, logistics is important because you got to make sure everything is covered. So difficult assignments, but at the same time, I think worthy, very worthy, and hopefully you can do. There's a lot of kids who are also with the GED programs. Hopefully you can help them, those who who want to take these GEDs, and tutor them on those subjects. So I think you got something here, man. You got something here that's not only limited to the frontline workers. You have a lot of people who can take advantage of the services that you students are giving back. So kudos.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh wow! I just had a brain freeze for a moment. On a daily basis, tell me how many calls do you get? Would you say?
It really just kind of depends. Some days we won't hear from anybody. Some days, I mean, for example, from today, I think I got 7 new tutoring requests today. Recently, it's been a couple a day. It kind of depends. I think there was one point in the fall where we sort of didn't get many more requests, and I think it's tough because it's a lot of students are in front of the screen right now all day, and I don't blame them for being tired after their classes and then not wanting to spend another hour online tutoring or anything like that. So I can understand why being on the screen so much would be disappointing, but it really kind of just depends on the day.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned that you spoke about study habits and study tips, right? So give our audience, give me something. I mean, I don't know if I told you when I spoke to you that I'm a former educator, and
Yes.
And so let's talk about a couple study skills that students need to develop or whatever the case is. So let talk to me about that.
Yeah, I think some of the big ones are definitely time management and organizational skills. Thinking about, right, if you have a lot of work, or, even if you don't have much work, you don't really want to do it. I think one of the things that really works for me and that we, sometimes work with our students is trying to break up work into smaller blocks. So like working for 25 minutes on an assignment, and then taking a 5-minute break, and then working for another 25 minutes, and then taking a break. Knowing when you feel good about doing your work, and that's going to be the most motivating time, and the time where you'll be most efficient. Knowing when there's times where maybe you're tired, maybe you want to break, maybe you want to think about other things. That's totally okay. As long as you kind of try to map it out in some way and have a game plan, you can be successful with that. Test taking skills, definitely important, and that goes again to prioritizing assignments, just prioritizing things in general. Right, you have a massive test in front of you. You have I don't know, 50 questions to answer. What are you spend 30 seconds at the beginning looking through and saying, all right, are any questions on here just from reading the first word of the question? Am I going to have trouble with this? Am I going to want to spend a lot of time on this? Maybe I save that for later. Maybe I just start working, on questions that I can answer right off the bat, and that will save me some time for later. Or you could even just start with the first question, read through it, and say, is this something I want to answer right now? Is this something I want to come back to later? Because then you're just more efficient. You get into a groove. It's so hard. At least I think it's really hard. Starting with such a tough question on a test or a homework assignment, I don't get motivated at that point. It's tough to get into a groove or to a flow. So I think getting yourself into a rhythm, whether it be during a timed test or a homework assignment, like that will make the work go faster, and that will improve your performance too. I think those sorts of things, those are the big things also, that we sort of work with the skills that students can learn and work on.
Right.
So your first number one advice is, in terms of study habits, is efficiency. How do you make your time more efficient? What about what do you call it? The room. How you tell, I always say to students when they come to me about studying, and they say to me like, Mr. Daly, I study better when I am listening to music. And I laugh. I go, well, how are your grades? Well, I'm having difficulty in my class. Well, you have to learn to do something different. So I always tell students, especially when you study for a test, you study in the same environment that you're going to take the test in.
That's a good point.
Right?
Definitely.
So if you sit at a desk in a well-lit room with no music and do the test. Let's go to the SATs. What are some tips that you have for the SATs? I mean, you did give some about it, but with the SATs, it's a little bit harder to skip ahead. So what are some tips when you're talking to somebody?
Yeah, so I think general tips. I think one of the big things, standardized tests are supposed to put everybody on the level ground, but it really isn't the case. At least I feel that way. And so I think it's not just a matter of access to information that's on the test. It's also when you get that information. I think just introducing students, 8th grade, 9th grade, just giving them the ideas of this is what, this is a test you might have to take at some point. You will probably take at some point. This is what it's tested on. Just so that people know, what the test is and that it's out there in the future. You can build test taking skills up until that point. You don't necessarily need to focus on the test so early. I think with any sort of standardized test like the SAT, I think repetitions are the big thing. Doing as much practice as you can. It's tough to get resources out there, but I think one great thing about our program is that since most, all of us are undergraduate college students. We've taken the test before. We've had experience taking these tests. And so, we were able to sort of impart that knowledge onto younger students just through experience. And I think that experience can help. At the same time, we have students that have resources. They have old test books. They have old practice tests that they have on their either on their computer or at home or somewhere. And there's no reason why those resources can't be repurposed for other students. It's the same test. I know they made modifications to the SAT. I don't even know how many years ago. Back around when I was taking the SAT. But a lot of our tutors have a lot of the newer stuff, and that can be repurposed. So I think practice is key, and I think also just early exposure it can't hurt. The more you know about the test, the more prepared you will be.
One of the things that for people who are out there, and Brett, I'm so glad that you're having this conversation, that Haverford requires a very high SAT score. It's not only criterion that gets you into Haverford, clearly, and it's never the only criterion for any school, but it does make a difference in terms of what. So I venture to say that your SAT scores is over 1,000, right? I'm going to venture to say that. So the reason why I'm bringing that up, well, you want me to ask? My teacher in here want to ask what the SAT score.
So I actually took the ACT. I got a 34 on my ACT.
34 out of what?
36.
Right. So I mean, on the SATs, by the way, on the SATs, that would be like a 1,500 out of 1,600, right? Around that number.
I think so. I don't know the exact conversion.
Yeah, but it's up there. So the only reason why I'm bringing that up, John and Brett, is that people can understand that you're talking from experience, right? You're given things that you did, right, that helped you to excel on the SATs and excelled in your classes. Because one of the things, again, I was joking with John about his daughter going to sophomore, even though his daughter's going to play basketball, but academically, she had to perform. I had to perform to get into Haverford, and so did Brett. So sometimes when and John said this earlier, experience is the greatest teacher. So if
you know what, the experience is the greatest teacher, but a lot of people do not. Why we continue to use standardized tests as a measure of how kids are going to do in college, law school. There's a lot of people who don't want their children to deal with these standardized exams. The pressure that is put upon the children to perform on these standardized tests, and it is truly not a reflection of how students will do when they matriculate in these institutions. So that's I throw that out there to see what are your thoughts on that. I mean, why does society, these institutions, put so much weight, used to, maybe not as much, put so much weight on these standardized examinations?
Is that for me or for Brett?
For both of you.
Well, Brett, you go ahead. You take a crack at it first if you want to, or you want me to take a crack at it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, John, I completely agree with you that they're sort of like obsolete at this point. I just don't think they're good measurements of who's going to be successful, who's going to do what direction you're going to go in your future. You can't base that all off on a test. And that being said, it's supposed to be standardized, but then again, it really isn't standardized because different people come from different backgrounds, different experiences, and I just don't think there's any way you can put that in I don't even know, several hour exam, and at the end of the day, say that the number defines you. I think people, I think that the reason schools relied on it so much in the past is that it was sort of advertised to them and by the college boards that this is the standard. We can compare, different students from different places using this one test. It's the same for everybody. It uses, a certain level of math skills, a certain level of reading comprehension, and those sorts of things. But I mean, as I guess I kind of already explained from my point of view, it seems flawed. It just seems flawed in that sense. And just sort of as an aside, I mean, my experience with Haverford, the number is important. And I think, it's a factor going in, and certainly a good standardized test score is gonna hurt you, and a poorer one, may not help you. I like Haverford because I think they do a good job for the most part of looking at your whole sort of profile.
Correct. That's good.
Where do you come from? What have you done in your community? Obviously, how have you done in your classes? But like, what kind of person are you? What do you want to get out of your college experience, and what does that say about you, your values, and your sort of future?
Also, what you can bring to the institution.
Yeah.
How can you make the institution better?
That's a very, very important one. So for me, I think it's just like when I was having a conversation about the specialized high schools here in New York City, right? I think there's a need for the test. I do think there's a need for it. But I'm with you, Brett. It cannot be the only means for you to get into a college, right? I think because of the background, where you come from, what your experiences are, it can dictate how well you would or would not do, on a thing. But you offer a lot more. You're able to. You're a serious learner, but you might not be able to get the 1,300 in the SATs.
Right.
But and the other thing too is, what one of my issues with the SAT and standardized tests, let's put all blanket standardized tests, is that I find that depending on where you go to school, you're not necessarily being treated equally educationally.
Correct.
So John and I went to the same middle school, not at the same time, but the same middle school. So he might have learned, by the time I got to the middle school, they were cutting out the shop. A lot of times kids learned a lot more because when you learn chemistry, you have the chemicals in your hand, right? And it makes a difference sometimes than learn in a book. Some kids are just hands-on.
Hands-on.
I'm just using chemistry for the example because if I have all the Na, the sodium and the chloride, and then bang, I put it together, I get salt. I understand that. But you telling me that this NaCl is salt, what does that mean? I don't know what that looks like. And so that's not reflected completely on the test. And I think that for me has to say there has to be multiple avenues for a person to get into a school and not solely relying on the SAT, because everyone is not getting taught at the same educational level. Everyone doesn't have the same home and the same access to information. There are things my kids can talk to me about that, and I could tell them the answer that maybe John's kid can't do that. And our John's kid can tell me, like John was in law, so he knew a lot about the Constitution and all these different things. And so his children might be able to, when that section come up, they could do that. I'm in Spanish. So I could tell my kids a little bit differently. You're in chemistry, so your kids, you can roll that off.
Right.
And if let's say that kid doesn't have access to law, access to chemistry, or access to foreign language, right? That student is in trouble,
right?
When it comes to a specialized exam. Couple other things, and then then we're gonna let you go. Just want to know again. So if people want to get access to you, you said it was free. Let's put that up. Free for frontline tutors. Free for frontline tutors.com. Want to make sure that people understand that it's a national program, right? So if you have a question, and it's any grade, and just want to make sure that parents are not too bashful about getting their child onto the program, getting help. You also offer, you said SAT. What about do you guys help out with college essays or anything like that? Would I go to the English if a child is struggling? Do you guys proofread and whatever the case is?
Yes. Yeah. So we have English tutors who love helping, workshopping and doing all the writing, editing essays and all those sorts of things. So we can definitely help with college essay writing and editing and all those, anything preparing for college in that way. that helps too.
Excellent.
That is one thing maybe you guys should think about is maybe offering mock interviews. Maybe that could help to prepare you. Can it help to what is it called? Quelch the trepidations the student might have, the anxiety. That's the word. The anxiety the students have applying.
That's a really good idea. That's again, I think like same thing with like the standardized tests. Like practice and repetitions is only going to make you better and get you more prepared for the situation. So, I mean, we have tutors who are willing to help with pretty much anything. So, if you need help with preparing for an interview too, I mean, I'll say it here. We are happy to help with these things.
So I do appreciate that. So one of the questions that we like to ask a person, one of her guests is, tell us something and something that you would give as an advice to somebody to persevere towards a goal. Think of something that you're still young, but I'm sure you've achieved a lot. You started a program, you got into a great school, you obviously conquering chemistry, which is a tough course. So tell us one thing that you tell young people about persevering towards their dreams.
I think one thing that I hold really, true and high in my heart is, no matter what people are telling you, if you have something you love or if you have something that you want to do, if you go out and work every day or work, pretty much all the time towards reaching that goal, on whether or not you want to be a better athlete or a better musician or a better student or all those sorts of things. And if you go out and put the work in and do it with a smile on your face, you're going to see results and you're going to be a happy person in the end. I'm just talking from experience. So when I was, starting at Haverford just from soccer, I didn't play my first 2 years at all. My teammates did. My kids in my class were playing. I think I played a total of 20 minutes in my first 2 years combined, like all garbage minutes at that point. And yeah, I mean, I just missed playing. I think I missed being out on the field and actually playing in a game because I love the sport so much. And the summer before my junior year, I would work during the day and then, come home, and as soon as work ended, until dinner time, until it got dark outside, I'd find a wall, and pass a soccer ball against a wall for 2 hours, 3 hours. And I said to myself, I'm going to get on the field and I'm going to, I want to play because I love this. And last year I was a starter, and I played extensive minutes, and it meant a lot to me just because it's something that I just really enjoy doing, and it's fun to me, and it's a passion of mine. But that passion could be anything. If you have the dedication and you have the drive in your heart, and you go out there and you just do it, don't listen to what other people say. Prove other people wrong and stay true to who you are.
Amen.
All right. God bless. John, you have any parting questions for Brett, or?
Hey, Brett, just continue to do what you're doing. Just tell your colleagues what they're doing is not only notable, but most of all, it's truly impacting a lot of young folks. So, I give credit to your parents that they raised a very fine young man.
Thank you. Really, thank you.
And then, we're in education, so anything we can do to help, just you got my number, so just reach out. Thank you, and God bless.
Of course. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate this. It was a lot of fun being on here.
You're welcome anytime at all. All right, Brett, have a great evening, and thank you for what you're doing for our young people nationwide and the frontline workers.
Thank you, too.
All right, take care. So John, going back, Robert had his dates mixed up.
Okay.
So they have a Friday. So we have a few moments there, a couple topics that we don't normally get. We don't normally get the chance to go through the topics. So we get it. What happened? Yeah. So a couple of things. One is we're talking about when a lot of people who are into politics, let's the two political topics that I want to approach, right? One is when people are always talking about bipartisan, 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 bipartisan. What does it mean bipartisan?
You always want to talk bipartisanship when you're in the minority, when you're not in control.
That's what it means, right?
That's what everybody, it befuddles me now. All the Republicans, all the talking heads, especially Fox News, bipartisanship. When the Republicans were in control, they never heard once anything about bipartisanship. The whole thing with, I look at the Joe Manchin from West Virginia, and he's trying to say, hey, I want to bring my other colleagues along. I want to do it in a bipartisan manner. But my question is, when the Republicans were in control in the Senate, they didn't talk about bipartisanship then
at all.
They didn't talk about it at all. I'm one for, as they go back, election has consequences. If this is your agenda, this is what we're going to do. I believe what Bernie Sanders says and Elizabeth Warren says. Forget the filibuster, majority rules, 51 votes, because the epitome of hypocrisy was the way the Republican Senate pushed through the last Supreme Court judgeship. It was the epitome of hypocrisy. At that point, for Lindsey Graham to say that I will not do anything of sorts, irrespective of the next president, if the seat is open, for him to do a 180 like that, it just shows you at the end of the day, it's not about bipartisanship. It's all about power. Those who in power make the decisions. So you know what, Democrats, you're in power, make the decisions, because the Republicans didn't give two hoots about bipartisanship when they were in control. And to me, the best example is what they did to Garland and the way they just rammed this last Supreme Court judgeship.
Yeah, Merrick Garland, and apparently he was super duper qualified to be a judge. I mean, now he's the Attorney General of the United States, which is not fair to him, because Attorney General is a great Department of Justice, but it's the Supreme Court judge.
You can do a lot more damage being the Attorney General.
No, you can. I'm not saying no, John, but I'm just saying if I had a choice between being a Supreme Court judge and Attorney General, I'm going to be Supreme Court judge.
It's a lifetime appointment, man.
Yeah, it's a lifetime appointment. It's a great job. Marjorie Taylor, we touched on her a little bit earlier. So the basic point of the House is very reactive about her. For the 19th, she was on a video urging people to rain on the Capitol, asserting that those buildings are public premises, to spewing canon. I don't know what the canon conspiracy is. I don't know what that is. A lot theories. So why aren't Republicans very reactive toward her? Is it because she's a Trump supporter, that she's a Republican, or that she's a Republican only? It's a wonder, right? Because there's like a lot of fear about what's going on with Trumpism, right? What's going on with that? So that's just very. And she was talking about, like, I didn't get the full scope about the Black Lives Matters conversation and the lack of existence, and these things aren't really happening right here in the United States.
No, I mean, really, I mean, that's all fine and dandy, but let's just get down to the basics. This is about we're in a economic spiral, and a lot of people hurting because of COVID. Let's get the necessary relief, to the communities, to the states who need it, so we can continue to have these frontline workers and don't have to worry about being laid off. I think sometimes we get caught up in the weeds, and we need to focus on what really is important. And I think that's why the Democrats were able to win in Georgia, because the president Trump was too concerned about the conspiracy theories, and what Miss Adams did was, in which I always, being involved in politics, it's all about registering people to vote. About, and everybody, everybody says there's a, to me, there's a reason why Trump became president of the United States. And what he did was that he was able to galvanize groups of individuals that were dormant in the political process. And he was able to galvanize them, that the numbers that came out were astonishing. And most of all, I give kudos to a lot of the urban communities in Pennsylvania, in Wisconsin, in Michigan, that really determined, Arizona, that really determined Joe Biden's presidency. The urban community won.
Okay. Not just the urban community, but I'm sure, especially in those major states, some of what you call, and some of them that we call on the Nevadas, the other states, Wisconsin, Michigan, and people can't now. Blacks can't say their votes don't count. Right? At this point, you can't say that. Like you have to understand at this point that every single vote counts, and there was a heavy push on voter suppression in this. If you don't believe in voter suppression, you got to look at this. Moving forward, we're going to talk about the impeachment, what's going on with that. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're following it, right? So, this is active firsthand for everyone, that you got a firsthand look twice within less than 2 years. Hey, Maureen, how you doing? What's going on? Happy. Janet is sending a shout out to you. Janet Silva saying shout out to you, John. Good, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello.
All right, welcome to the Village right here, 92.1 GD Radio. You call us in at 718-841-9980. And if you have any questions, again, that's 718-841-9980. The Village is all about education. How can we educate you about what is happening? So right now we're talking a little politics. So just basically what's happening is impeachment versus conviction, right? And so it's different, okay? So yes, he's impeached, but because you're impeached, that's a soil on your record. So you will forever go down in history of being the third president in the history of the United States to be impeached, but only the first. He's the only president who has been impeached twice, but no president has been convicted of any crimes or misdemeanor as president, okay, in the history of the United States. The one that came the closest was Richard Nixon in 1973, right? But he resigned before he was convicted. So what does conviction mean? So the Trump lawyers are claiming that he didn't start the riot. People acted on their own. Okay, so right now he's impeached for insurrection, but the conviction would mean that he cannot run for office anymore. His days.
I don't think I you know what? Trump's not going to run for office anymore, because at the end of the day,
I don't know.
At the end of the day, Rudy, you got 5 people that were killed, who died. You got 5 people who died.
But he's one selfish person. I don't know if he would run.
You know what? But I think America has come to realize that this is no longer reality. Trump reality. This is humanity, the reality of humanity. Trump caused this insurrection. 5 people died. And the Republican Party always talks about the law and order. They talk about all the violence that's going on in Black Lives Matters, and it's the reflection. The bottom line is Trump got impeached. He will not be convicted. He will not be convicted. They
Like,
don't have the votes.
oh, that reminds me. So for and then I'll let you get back to what you're saying, so people understand, right? So in order for the president of the United States to be convicted of a crime, you need it's yes. If he was on party line, he would have been. He's done, right?
Mhm.
But because you need about 10 Republican senators, I think it's 10, right? to get
17.
17. So you
You
need
need 2/3. You need
Thirds,
2/3.
right. So you would need 17 Republican senators to say that yes, he's guilty of this crime. Right now, I think they probably can only. I think they might get Susan Collins right out of Maine, and they might get what's the other one's name?
Lisa Murkowski
No,
from Alaska. Lisa Murkowski from Alaska.
yeah, is she from Alaska or is she from Missouri?
Alaska.
Alaska, and then they might get Mitt Romney from Utah. So they
I
might.
mean, yeah. But at the end
They
of
won't
the
get
day,
17.
yeah, but at the end of the day, he's not getting convicted.
No, it's not.
So what? So what was accomplished? Yes, we have held him responsible. I think.
But did we really though?
No, I mean, we're holding him responsible. We got impeached, but at the end, I just look at it as, you know what? He's not getting convicted. The impact of all of this is going to have on the communities. You know what? Let's don't waste our time. Let's, let's to me, pass legislation. That's the best form. Pass the legislation. I don't need 60 votes. I need 51 votes. To me, that's the best. As Bernie Sanders would say, hey, let's just ram it through.
Yeah,
Let's ram it through. I wouldn't waste time with the President Trump and whether or not he's going to get convicted. You know what? I'm concentrating on doing infrastructure. I'm concentrating on doing, you're talking about the climate change and all these other things that the president's talking about, President Biden. You know what? I'm not going to waste my time with that. I'm going to push these things through, ram it down their throats. And to me, that's the best way. That's the best way to convict Donald Trump, is leading to the destruction of the Republican Party.
And I'm one of the things I'm also glad about is that Biden is actually not even addressing it. He's like, he's like, I have 100 days to get these things done, the vaccines and the rest of the stuff done. Speaking of vaccine, John, Johnson & Johnson, they're planning on doing a singular vaccine. Every vaccine at this moment is
2 shots,
right? So Johnson & Johnson is hoping to get the FDA approval on their 1-shot vaccine. So we'll see what's going on there as well. And I already asked you, if you missed the beginning of the show, we're talking about the vaccine. I am not going to take the vaccine yet, only because I don't know what it will do. And I've said this multiple times, and not because I don't believe in the vaccine, but because I don't know what the effects can be on my situation. I've overcome so many things. Overcame so many things, with the COVID, with the what's going on, the tumor is shrinking, don't know what to look like. I put on back some weight, and you know what, I don't necessarily want to push the bar until I know exactly what's happening. But for those of you out there, you really need to really don't fearmonger and say I'm not going to take it, because these stupid things that you see on WhatsApp that people
take the vaccine, but still continue to wear your mask and do the other things. Eat right, take your ginger, your zinc, your sea moss. Go back to before there were vaccines. We went to the land. We got the roots. We went to the land. We got the roots that overcame. So I think it's great to take the vaccine, but it's all the other things that we need to do to, first of all, to get rid of all these underlying conditions that we have. If we can do that, it will make us less susceptible to the impact of the viruses, because even the ones that are mutating and becoming a different strand. So it's a combination of things. Practice good health.
And practice being safe.
Yeah, practice music.
Noel Phillips, thank you, Sister Gilbert, for your comment. God bless you as well. And Eddie brings up a good point. Just stay safe. But Noel brings up make an informed decision. Make informed decisions. Simple, and not, I hate. If you see me boiling up with anger at these foolish WhatsApp things that spread fear.
Right.
I spread fear, and people who believe in these ridiculous conspiracy theories are going, oh yeah, no, it's stupid, and stop it. And what they do, they cut and paste things, right? They cut and paste things, put one reaction to this, and they put it to this, and say, oh, this is how you're reacting to the vaccine. The next thing is Bezos is stepping down from Amazon, right? Bezos is stepping down from Amazon, and he's trying to go to space, right? He's trying to build a
colony in space.
Colony in space, and I find that to be very, very.
Well, he got the money to do it, man.
You know what I'm saying? He's the richest man in the world, right?
The second richest.
He's the richest in the world.
No, Elon Musk. Elon Musk.
Wait. When did this happen?
Elon Musk
jumped ahead of him.
Yes, jumped ahead of him. But hey,
but
it can change. It can change. It can change by tomorrow. So
I mean, at that point, hey, 100 million.
Yeah, 101, 102.
I'm like, yeah, what real difference does it make? So the which is really, really interesting to me. What do you think about the idea? If it was, would you want to live in space if they said it was safe?
I wouldn't mind.
Right. I don't know if I wouldn't mind. I would like to visit. I think that's me. I would like to visit. I don't know if I've lived there. I don't think the food.
Huh?
It's my curry chicken. I don't know. I miss my wife's curry chicken. I don't know.
You never know what kind of curry chicken you might get in space. That might add some different flavor to it.
Oh God, our producer Andre,
some earth, some heavenly flavor to
it. You know what I'm saying? The stocks, ladies and gentlemen, they're doing okay. Let me just go through that. We have about like another 5 to 10 minutes. Angela, I don't know if you know Angela DeFreitas. She's saying hello.
So Angela's hello.
Yes, so that's good. Right. And thank you, Janet, for pointing that out. She agrees that she's not ready to take the vaccine as yet. So when you look at the stock market, let me see how Andre, did you pull that up for us, the stock things? Click the link. Okay, so let's go through this. I'm learning these new things. This. I'm gonna make Andre click the link right now. Here, Andre. But this is about Amazon CEO. I'm talking about our stock sheet. Where is that? Oh, right there. Okay. All right. Andre's, ladies and gentlemen, Andre is like, he's like our technology savvy person. But now I need to make this bigger. Right? Come on, Andre. I'm slow. All right. So our stocks, where are we? Our stocks are not doing. So as you know, on the show, and John is learning this. We're getting we have a mock portfolio for you to look at. So let's just talk about this. So JetBlue, when we started, was at $10.13. John's at $15.90. So if you bought 100 shares, you made $500. You're gonna make $500 on your 100 shares, and that's from April. So let's see. Let me see if I do the math. April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, right? February. So in 10 months, if you invested 100 shares, 100 times 10 is $1,000. If you invested $1,000, if you invested 10,000, am I doing my math right? 100 times 10 is 1,000, right? So if you invested $1,000 in on JetBlue, you'd have made $500 on your 1,000. You'd have increased by 50%.
It's better than the bank.
Yeah, it's that's beyond better than the bank, right? American Airlines also would have increased by it's a $5 increase. Delta, wow, Delta, John, you went from 27.32 to 40.78. So what's that? It's $13 a share. So if you did that again, you know, there's also a 50% increase. Southwest is a $12 increase. United Airlines, 11. The big one, John, is Plug. Plug, big one for us. Plug was at 452 in April when I started talking about it.
Right.
Right now it's at $67.76. So if you bought 100 shares of Plug in April, that's $450, right? You spent $450 on 100 shares. Right now, that same 100 shares would be worth $6,700.
Wow.
Right. So you would have made almost $6,000 on that investment. Nvidia was $298 in April. Now it just about doubled to 546.
Right.
Apple went up. It was a $240 for one share. So if you had bought it, you know, it split. So that one share became 4 shares. So now what would that be? So what's 4 times 4? So you would have made $100 and something per share, right there. So Tesla is the big thing for us that we're talking about. So if you did Tesla, bought it in April of 481, if you take 481, call it 482 for argument's sake, so it's easier to round off.
Right.
So 482. Now it's worth, you take that same money and you multiply it by 850. So what's that? So 5 times 850 is about, what's that? 4,000. I'm not. About 40. About 4,400, right? Somewhere.
Right.
There. So you'd have made over $4,000 on one share. So again, we're doing the $100 a share on that. So, ladies and gentlemen, you know, we're you know, the time is going, and you know, we're a little bit late today. We didn't get a chance to do everything that we wanted to do, but John and I want to make sure that you're reminded that it's about being knowledgeable of what's happening around you. So you got to learn to invest. You got to learn to understand what's going on in politics and the whole shebang. All right.
Knowledge is power, man. Knowledge is power.
Just getting a confirmation that we're going to be out in about 2 minutes, John. So you're going to get actually it's 1 minute. I hate when they do give my short minute notice. So it, partner words, John.
First of all, kudos to you, Rudy, for doing what you're doing, man. Educating the village, providing the information that is necessary so we can become knowledgeable in the things that we do, but most of all in the decisions that we make, because decisions can really impact the rest of your lives. So the only way you can make a great decision or a good decision is by making sure you're knowledgeable. So congratulate you on what you're doing. Look forward to continuing to be a listener, and it's great to be back. But most of all, just to understand that you know, God knocks you down, but He doesn't knock you out.
Absolutely. Don't worry, you'll be back next week. You'll be here.
Okay.
But we gotta hit a hard cutoff at 9:15. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us in the village. We will see you next week, Thursday. God's spirit, God's willing. From John and I and the village, Andre. We'll see you next week. God bless. Have a great night.